Thank you guys for having me. It's great to be here. I'll just start by going through some of my background, and then I'll open it up for questions for you guys in a little bit. First off, I grew up down here, down in Weston. I went to Cypress Bay High School, and I was very fortunate there to kind of figure out that at that point, this is what I wanted to do for a career. And we had an excellent TV production program that streamed all of our football games, all of our basketball games, and we did a weekly show that would air in the school every Friday. So I was the sports producer for our weekly show, and then I would do play-by-play on our web streams for our football games and then PA for our basketball games. And that kind of all bubbled up, and I was really into sports radio. And so this is when social media was just starting to kind of take off. And I had reached out to a radio host that I listened to. His name was Larry Millian. And I was 14 at the time. And I reached out to him on Facebook and I said, hey, I love sports radio. I don't know if you guys need an intern, but if you do, would love to help out. And so I remember vividly, my mom, I was working at a summer camp. My mom picked me up from the summer camp, drove me to the radio station in Palm Beach, even more north of where we are now. And I got my first internship at a radio station at 14 years old. And I really, really enjoyed that. And then continued doing that for about a year. And then, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Dan Levitard, but Dan was still doing local radio at the time. And I had reached out to Mark Hockman about doing a project for my TV production class about their show, coming in and filming and putting something together. And so he called me back, we set it up, I went in there, did my project, and as I was leaving, Hawk had asked me if I wanted to be an intern for them, which was an obvious yes. I was an avid listener, even in high school, to the Dan Levitard show, and that was like a dream internship for me at the time. And so I did that for the last year and a half that I was in high school. And all the while, you come across different people who are interns with you, who are kind of around your age. I was young for an intern, but one of my very close friends to this day, his name's Chris Whittingham. He was going to UM, and I saw that while he was a Hurricane, he was doing student radio for football, basketball, baseball, everything. And I was like, I need to go somewhere for college where I can do all of that. And so when I was narrowing down my decision, it was USF, UCF, and UNF. UNF didn't have a football team, didn't really want to do that. And then I was researching, USF had a student radio station that called every football game, called every basketball game, called every baseball game, volleyball, softball, you name it, they did it. Traveled for football. UCF didn't really have that. So I was one of maybe 3 or 4 kids from my graduating class that ended up going to USF. And it was the best decision that I ever made, because immediately when I got there, I reached out to the station director. He's like, all right, why don't you host a show once a week for 3 hours? Did that. And then I wasn't really a soccer guy, but the first game that I called there was a USF soccer game. And from there, it just kind of slowly built up and built up and built up, and I eventually became the sports director for the final 3 years that I was in school. And all the while, through a connection that I had when I was a freshman, her name was Kirsten Carbach. She was the sports director when I came in. And her first job out of school was the play-by-play announcer for the Clearwater Threshers, which was a minor league baseball team for the Phillies. And one summer, she was like, hey, I'm getting promoted to the number 1, and I need a second one. If you're interested, come and interview. And I was working at a summer camp down here at the time. And I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? I love the summer camp a lot, but this is an opportunity that I couldn't pass up. So for 4 years, on top of going to school, I would stay up there in the summer, and I would do minor league baseball. So think about how many games that is between starting in the fall at USF doing football, getting all through soccer season and basketball season, both men's and women's, then into baseball season and softball season. And when that ends, I'm right into minor league baseball. That's so many games and so many reps, and it was invaluable for me. And it's kind of gotten more popular these days over the last 5-6 years, I would say. But the Jim Nance Award through SCAA Talent was starting to become more and more popular amongst college broadcasters, and I was kind of hesitating to apply for it. and one of my friends who at the time was USF Radio's women's basketball and baseball announcer was like, hey, what's the worst that happens? You send in a reel and you don't place or you don't do that. I was like, you know what? You're absolutely right. So I cut up a 15-minute reel of what I thought was my best football, my best baseball, my best basketball from that school year. Turns out it was good enough, and I ended up winning the Jim Nance Award in 2016, and that kind of promoted my name a little more, for lack of a better way to put it. Kind of got my name out there a bit, and the most stressful part of that 2016 year was, all right, I'm going to graduate in May. Now what's going to be next? I was still doing the minor league baseball, but the season was ending in September. So what were we going to do after that? And I was reaching out to a bunch of different places. Sports USA was one of them. They didn't hire me right away, obviously. It was coming out of college. That doesn't happen a lot. But I did get a break because one of the folks that I interned for at 7 Night at the Ticket had reached out to me and said, hey, look, I just saw you won the Nance Award. I know you're graduating. We're getting the rights to FIU football on 790. If that's something you're interested in, send in your stuff to so-and-so. And all during that time, I was interviewing with West Virginia. I was going to maybe go out to Morgantown and maybe do women's basketball and baseball for them. I'd done one phone interview. They were going to fly me out there. And then I realized that FIU was offering a chance to do Division I football right out of college, Division I basketball right out of college. And so ultimately, that's the decision I ended up making. And that was an awesome time. The team wasn't very good, but the experience was great. The analyst that I worked with, his name was Wes Carroll. He's still one of my closest friends to this day. And of course, with every game that you do and every rep that you get, you want to get better. And so all the while, I'm still sending my tape out to different people to get critiques and kind of learn from others. And one of the folks that I reached out to is now my boss with Sports USA, which is the national radio company that I do the NFL for. And about a week or two went by. He's like, look, sounds great. Send me something later in the season. Maybe we'll be able to work you into our schedule. So I sent him some game from week 9 or week 10. The detail is irrelevant, but he responded back with, sounds great. Do you want to do the Independence Bowl for us? I was like, yeah, obviously. I'd love to go to Shreveport, Louisiana. And I was probably the first person to ever say that. So a couple days go by, and he responds back, hey, you're in Florida. We're already having you do the Independence Bowl in Shreveport. Why don't you also do the Outback Bowl in Tampa? So I did that, and both went well. And I'm sitting at a restaurant for dinner after the Outback Bowl, getting ready to get back on my flight to come back home. And I get a call from my boss. And he's like, hey, what are your plans for next year? And I said, I told FIU that I was going to be back. I really enjoyed doing it, but if we can work it out, I'd love to do a few games for you guys next year. And he's like, well, he asked me another question. And I said, well, this is what it'll be. And he goes, well, how about this? How about you will be guaranteed a game for us every weekend, whether it's college, whether it's the NFL, and you can leave FIU. And I was like, say less. So I did that, and here we are 9 years later, going into my 9th season, doing NFL games on national radio. And all the while, I had connected with an agent and have done games, as Jeremy said, on FS1, ESPN platform, CBS Sports Network, ESPN Plus, and yeah, here we are today. This year is the first time that I've been able to do MLS games on Fox Sports 1, that's where that's from. Did Portland LAFC, FC Dallas and San Diego, and then Portland and Seattle. And I'm also doing a lot of USL Championship stuff, and that's kind of where we are now. I also, the story started with, all right, I was an intern at a sports radio station down here. I also am a contributor at 560 WQAM, a lot of times in the Hot Crowder and Solana show. We'll be at the arena tomorrow doing our show from 2 to 6 before Game 4 of the Stanley Cup, so that'll be really cool. But one of the things that I learned throughout all of this, especially when I first got to college, and I'm sure you guys hear a lot of this, is you want to learn and do a bunch of different things, and figure out and learn how to do those. And so when I got to USF as a freshman, I was like, all right, I know I'm going to have on-air stuff, but is there a way that I can get better at writing about sports? And so there was a recruiting website called Rivals.com. I wrote for Rivals for a year. Did a bunch of recruiting profiles. I didn't really enjoy it all that much because I felt odd, like calling up, 17-year-olds and asking them questions about what they're going to do for college. But it was a valuable experience, number one, on how to conduct interviews like that. Number two, how to write them, and kind of build relationships with people that you're going to cover throughout the year. So all that, like I said, was invaluable. And I don't think I would be in this spot if I didn't go to a place like USF, which is obviously not somewhere known to be a broadcasting school, right? You think of Syracuse, you think of Northwestern, Missouri, Florida, schools like that. You don't really think of it now, USC, I guess, Arizona State, but you don't think of USF as a school like that. But there were opportunities there to be had, and I was able to take advantage of them and learn a lot, get a lot of reps, and get good feedback, and kind of make myself a well-rounded broadcaster to kind of make that jump professionally. And not a finished product. I'm 30 years old, turning 31 in August 1st. I'm still not a finished product. I got a lot to learn. Thank you, I appreciate that. Still a lot to learn. In fact, before I came here, I got a call from an analyst that I work with a bunch on soccer. He's very experienced. He's like, hey, I heard a couple things from your game over the weekend, and here's what I noticed. And so I'm still looking for that feedback all the time, because this is an ever-evolving thing, and I'm nowhere close to a finished product, and I know that. And as awesome as it is that I've had these opportunities, I'm still striving for more, and I still want to get better, and I still want to do bigger and better things. Especially
what NFL games are you doing this year? Do you know any of them yet?
I don't have my schedule yet for this year.
What'd you do last year?
So last year I did 12 games. Let's see, some of those high-profile ones. I did Denver, Kansas City in Kansas City that ended on the blocked field goal at the end by the Chiefs. I did Ravens, Eagles late in the season. I did that Panthers, Eagles game that was very exciting towards the end. The Dolphins, 49ers, and then where did I close out? I closed out in Green Bay with the Bears and Packers, and that was the Bears' first win over Green Bay in 15 years. I don't know if it's that long, but it was really
a long time.
Yeah. I know I just rambled a lot, and I probably missed a couple things, but we'll open up to questions now.